You ever wake up one morning thinking the biggest thing on your mind is whether you've got enough coffee in the house, and before you know it, you're knee deep in show drama that turns into a full blown fraud investigation? Yeah, me neither, until last winter. So picture this, it's 6 in the morning. I'm standing out in my driveway, mug in hand, just trying to wake up. And the snow's coming down in big fluffy sheets. First real snow of the season. The world's quiet, peaceful, that sort of gentle hush you only get when everything's buried under 4 inches of fresh powder. And then I see her stomping up my driveway like she's leading an army. Patricia Henshaw. If you've never met a Patricia Henshaw, you're lucky. Think pink marshmallow coat face, like she's chewing on a lemon, and the attitude of someone who thinks the world runs on her schedule. Ethan Norris. She shouts, waking up every bird and probably half the neighborhood. We need to talk about your unpaid HOA dues. Not even a good morning. I take the slowest sip of coffee you've ever seen just to make her wait. Watching her wade through that snow in ballet flats, honestly, that was the best part of my morning. She launches straight into her speech, all about how I owe the HOA $3,472 plus late fees plus penalties. She's holding a folder like she's about to serve me with a warrant. I tell her I've been out of town for work, which is true. I'd spent most of the fall on a highway contract in Wyoming, just got back a week ago. But Patricia, she doesn't care. Not our problem, she snaps. And then get this, she tells me straight face that they've filed to seize my truck. My truck. The big old Ford F-35. With the snowplow blade on the front, the one I use to run my company. She points at it like it's already hers. Says if I don't pay by 5 o'clock p.m., they're taking it. Now, you probably think I'm exaggerating, but that's actually what she said. Like, have you ever heard anything that wild? HOA going after work vehicles. I almost choked on my coffee. I try to keep calm. That truck's not just my personal ride. It's one of 37 in my fleet. I own the biggest private snow removal company in northeast Minnesota, contracts with the city county, shopping malls, hospitals, the works. That truck alone is worth 60 grand, and, oh yeah, was supposed to be clearing the hospital parking lot in 2 hours. But try telling Patricia that. She just keeps waving her folder, quoting bylaws. I'd actually read the fine print, by the way. Back when I bought the house, the last HOA president, Tom, told me that asset seizure thing was a joke. Never enforced, never will be, he said. Then Tom moved to Florida, and Patricia took over. 8 months of hell later, and here we are. I offered to write a check just to make her go away. I had the money. Business was good, had just finished paying off a new dump truck. But she gets this gleam in her eye, tells me it's too late. I have to pay at the county clerk's office now, and suddenly there's another $1,000 in administrative fees on top for paying her too late. Honestly, at this point, I could feel my ears getting hot, but I kept it together. Patricia. She turns and picks her way back through the snow leaves, little holes where those ridiculous shoes sink in, gets in her Lexus, and drives off. Traction control off tires spinning, she almost hits the neighbor's mailbox. That was something. I call my lawyer, Marcus Webb. Solid guy, always up early. Ethan, he says what's wrong. I tell him about Patricia, about the truck, about the seizure threat. He actually laughs. That's not how any of this works in Minnesota, he says. HO. As can place liens on houses, but seizing vehicles. Never heard of it. He asks for the bylaws, notices all the paperwork. Then he wants to know if I really owe the dues. I admit, yeah, probably I'd set up automatic payments, switch banks last year, forgot to update it. Honest mistake. Not worth losing a truck over. Marcus tells me to move the truck to the business yard. Don't hide it. Just be smart. He'd handle the rest. I thank him, call my ops manager, Danny, my right-hand man since day one, back when it was just the two of us and a couple beat-up trucks. Danny comes by, grabs the F3, 5, O, heads back to the yard, asks no questions. That's Danny steady as they come. In the middle of all this, he mentions the hospital wants us to take over their parking structure for extra cash. Good news never comes alone, right? I dig through my HOA files and find buried in Section 47, subsection 12, the clause about asset seizure. But it also references state law. I'm no legal expert, but I'm pretty sure you can't just take someone's work vehicle, not when it's their livelihood. Marcus calls back. He's talked to the county. Patricia did file paperwork, but it's junk wrong forms, incomplete, no authority. She'd need a court order for this, with a hearing, a whole process. Basically, she's bluffing. Trying to scare me into paying her fake fees. Marcus tells me to pay my actual dues at the clerk's office, get a receipt, and he'll file a complaint about her attempted illegal seizure. Then he suggests we call an emergency HOA board meeting. I ask if that'll actually work. HO. A's have to follow the law like anyone else, he says. If she's making up fees and threatening illegal seizures, the other board members need to know. Unless, of course, they're all in on it. Which with HO, as you can never be too sure. So I start thinking about the board. Gerald, a retired teacher, he goes along to get along. Nancy Kim, dentist, barely ever shows up. Robert Polson, the only one who ever pushed back against Patricia, lost the election by 3 votes. Robert might be an ally, I tell Marcus. He agrees. Talk to him first. And document everything. That whole morning, I'm dealing with business calls, watching the snow pile up, wondering how deep this hole's about to get. Danny swings by, grabs the truck, doesn't even blink when I say I'll explain later. 9 a.m., I'm at the county clerk's office, old stone building, echoey halls. I find the right window, explain what I'm there for. The clerk. Susan looks confused. HOA dues. That's not something we handle. I tell her about the seizure paperwork. She frowns. Types into her computer. Yeah, we got something from a Patricia Henshaw yesterday. Not properly filed. She's claiming authority she doesn't have. Our legal department flagged it. Absolutely not. You can pay your dues to the HOA, but they can't seize your vehicle. That relief you feel when you realize you're not crazy. Mixed with anger because Patricia flat out lied to my face. I get it in writing proof the seizure was a sham. Susan stamps the form, tells me if Patricia harasses me again, maybe call my lawyer. Way ahead of you, I tell her. As I'm leaving, my phone rings, unknown number. This is Ethan. Ethan, it's Robert Polson from the HOA board. He's heard through the grapevine about the truck thing. Apparently news travels fast in my neighborhood. I explain what happened, he sighs, says Patricia's been on a rampage. Find the Johnsons for their mailbox. Color threatened the Martinez family over a tree. He thinks she's skimming funds, but she keeps dodging requests for records. He asks if I'll file a formal complaint. If he gets enough signatures, he can call a vote of no confidence, oust Patricia. I pause. Filing a complaint makes me a target, but someone's got to stop her. Send me the paperwork, I say. Back home, I get a call from Patricia. Her voice is pure ice. Ethan, I understand you went to the county clerk. I did. They said your order was rejected. She huffs, says she'll refile. No, you won't. You don't have the authority. If you keep this up, my lawyer will file charges for attempted fraud. Silence. I don't appreciate your tone. I don't appreciate being lied to. She hangs up. I call Marcus, who tells me he's drafting a cease and desist. She's digging herself deeper, he says. Later that night, Robert shows up at my door, folder in hand. Sorry to bother you late. I give him coffee, and he lays out the financials. $80,000 a year in dues, supposed to pay for snow removal landscaping admin. But in 8 months since Patricia took over monies, flying out to consulting companies and landscape services owned by her husband, brother-in-law, and, get this, a company that doesn't even exist except for a PO. Box. So she's embezzling, I say. That's what it looks like. Robert nods. He wants contracts, real proof. Problem is, Patricia keeps everything locked up in her home office. He tells me Patricia's trying to ram through a special assessment, $5,000 from each household. That's $500,000 for essential neighborhood improvements. No specifics. If she gets that poof, it'll disappear. Board needs a majority vote, and it comes down to Nancy. Robert asked me to talk to her. She's a dentist, business owner. Maybe she'll listen. Next day, I show up at her office with the documents. She looks them over, face getting paler. "Oh no," she says. "I signed off on some of this. Patricia said they were necessary, and I didn't look." I tell her, "You know now, and you've got a responsibility." Nancy agrees to vote no and co-sign a call for a forensic audit. She warns me, Patricia has powerful friends, city council, school board, the works. I tell her I don't care. Someone's got to stand up. Things move fast after that. Emergency board meeting called 2 board members. That's all it takes. Patricia tries to block it, but Marcus shuts her down. At the meeting, the room's packed, half the neighborhood's shown up. Patricia's furious, but Robert and Nancy hold firm. Robert lays out the sketchy finances. Patricia screams about routine expenses. Nancy calls for an audit motion passes. Marcus points out in a tie the motion is approved by law. Patricia's face turns white. She storms out. Audit starts. Homeowners start sharing their own horror stories. Patricia's been nickel and diming, everyone making up fees, threatening fines for closure. The picture is clear. She's been running the place like her personal piggy bank. A few days later, I spot Patricia filming me at the hospital claiming I'm breaking HOA rules by running my business. I keep my cool, call Marcus, who says this only helps our case. Sure enough, a city inspector shows up. Apologetic, turns out I plow his office parking lot. He checks, finds nothing wrong. Tells me Patricia's filed a bunch of complaints on neighbors. People get weird about HO, as he says. Audit day arrives. The community center's standing room, only someone brought popcorn. David Chin, the accountant, lays it all out. Tens of thousands paid to shell companies, owned by Patricia's family, payments to non-existent businesses, money missing everywhere. Patricia tries to yell witch hunt, but nobody's buying it. And then, twist of all twists, 2 police officers walk in, Patricia Henshaw. "We need to talk to you about financial irregularities." She turns pale as a ghost. She's led out and handcuffs Greg, too. Turns out Robert had filed a report with the police after seeing the audit's early numbers. They'd been quietly investigating, and what David found matched their own records. Patricia and her crew get charged with theft, embezzlement, fraud, the works. HOA suspends her, launches a new election. Robert runs unopposed and wins. After all that, things settle down. Restitution comes in the neighborhood, puts the money to good use, repaving roads, new lighting, finally fixing the entrance sign. My business keeps growing. 42 trucks now landed a big contract with the state. Danny gets promoted, and after a few long talks, we make him a partner. Couldn't have done it without him. By the time Christmas rolls around, the snow's piling up again, business is booming. And, for the first time in months, I'm not worried about HOA nonsense. That's a good feeling, let me tell you. I even get a letter from Patricia, one of those court-ordered apologies. Felt about as sincere as a telemarketer's sorry for the inconvenience. But I'll take it. At least there's justice. Not perfect, but real. Neighborhood's different now. People show up to meetings, ask questions, keep an eye on where the money goes. Gerald, the old board member, resigns out of guilt. Gets replaced by Lisa Anderson, who's sharper than a tack. Nancy's vice president makes sure every expense over $500 gets a second set of eyes. Sometimes I sit on my deck at night, look out over Lake Superior, and think, how did a dumb fight over HOA dues turn into all this? Just goes to show, standing up for yourself matters. Not because you're looking for trouble, but because if you let the little things slide, sometimes they turn into big things. You ever been in a spot like that where pushing back seemed like more trouble than it was worth? But in the end, it changed everything. Makes you wonder how many Patricias are out there counting on folks to stay quiet. Here's what I learned the hard way. People who abuse power usually count on you being too tired, too busy, or too scared to fight back. And most of the time, that works. But sometimes all it takes is one person to say enough and things start to change. So, what do you think? Where's the line between standing up for yourself and letting things go? Ever dealt with a petty tyrant like Patricia, or maybe even an HOA horror story of your own? Let me know. I'm all ears. And hey, if you ever find yourself staring down the barrel of a pink marshmallow coat and a fistful of fake fees, don't be afraid to call their bluff. Sometimes that's all it takes to bring the whole house of cards down.